everyone and welcome to the deep dive. So whenever insurance is mentioned to a fellow diver, 90% of them say that they are insured through their bank. Now yes, banks of course offer insurance for your holiday, but when it comes to adventure holidays like snowboarding, hiking and yes, scuba diving, you might not have much coverage, or even worse, as soon as you go below the water surface, you might not be covered at all.
When going on a diving or even a snorkelling holiday and you get generic holiday insurance, you need to really go over the terms and conditions in detail, or yeah, as Alannah said, you might not even be covered at all. So let's do a deep dive on what to look for and what to check off when you're getting insurance for your diving holiday. So firstly, you'll need to look into the small print. Insurance companies can often be very slippery to deal with and sort of deny cover for any reason that they can find, because insurance companies.
Their terms and conditions are often to your qualification or a maximum depth. So if you go 10 centimetres deeper than your qualification, then they will deny you cover right when you need it the most. Someone Mark knows had a 6-figure bill for a few hours in a chamber and medical bills which I wouldn't want to pay without help. And just because you've been on hundreds of dives doesn't mean you won't suffer from decompression illness. There are so many unpredictable causes of DCIs and other injuries underwater that I'd rather have the cover and not need it than need cover and not have it.
Yeah, so you basically need to consider where you're diving and what kind of diving you'll be doing as well. So let your insurance know that basically all of the details of your trips, because many of them have different policies for different regions with higher premiums, obviously for diving more obscure places, and God forbid you want to go below that kind of standard recreational 30-meter mark. So that expensive trip to Truck Lagoon is now even more expensive, unfortunately, than you originally planned, as it's outside EMEA, but I'd still rather be covered just in case something happens. Now, this all kind of makes sense from an insurer's position, as the price of care increases the further out you go, as well as like repatriation costs and all that kind of stuff, but you do have to double check that you are covered for where you are planning to dive.
So for most divers, insurance is there mainly for medical bills and lost equipment. But if you're a professional diver, you'll need another level of insurance, legal cover and student cover. Many training agencies like PADI cover instructors with their legal team if a claim arises against their course structure. So as long as you keep your training agency structure, you should be fine. Anything outside of the course structure needs to cover against possible court cases. They're all up to you. And your students need covering too, as new students probably won't have any cover to speak of.
Yeah, so if something ever happens to your students whilst in your care, you could actually need to provide medical care and proper representation if the worst were to happen. So just kind of be careful, make sure that you cover yourself for the exact type of scuba diving that you will be doing. There are plenty of insurers out there. If you're looking for general insurance, like from your bank, you really need to study the terms and conditions just to make sure that you are covered. And yeah, should the worst happen, they're not going to just cut you off.
The alternative is to look at insurance providers that are purely for adventure sports. These types of insurers will cater for the sport rather than just cater for the generic holiday. Like for instance, Dive Master Insurance. They haven't sponsored today's video, but they are highly regarded in the scuba diving world, and they are tailored for us scuba divers. So in a nutshell, triple check the small print and policies. Make sure you give the insurer the right information about your trip you'll be going on. Yes, it might be more expensive, but at the end of the day, your life is priceless.
Yeah, and that's kind of where we're going to end today's episode. It's worth paying that little bit extra premium because, yeah, a few hours in a chamber is very expensive, and repatriation costs are just unbelievable. But what are your thoughts on dive insurance? Do we really need it? Has having insurance ever helped you out whilst on a scuba diving holiday? Let us chat about it in the comments below. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next week on another deep dive. Thanks for watching, and safe diving. You see, when other manufacturers saw the popularity of full-face snorkels, they just rushed to create their own, and they cut some corners. So there wasn't really a standard for full-face snorkels, so you could just pretty much make anything you want without testing it and just release it for sale. So full-face snorkels work by separating the fresh air